before I go with this, can I show you something? See this? Why did I have it before? You know what I just realized? I've had this album forever, right? Holy fuck, they're guitars. I never knew. Am I the only one who never knew? Come on, admit it. I'm going to be talking about the Lemon of Pink pretty soon. I'll tell a personal story when it comes to that. Got another copy of Yeti Gale. Jazz people want this. The Alice Coltrane conversation is not going to happen today. It's going to happen another time. Okay. And I got, you remember I was talking about the Funkadelic Live at Meadowbrook last week? This record here. Watch the old blog, you'll be able to see it, or the old VJ Live #2, it's there. Yeah, one of you is going to win one of this also, and this is fucking awesome. And it's courtesy of Tidal Waves Music. You can see my bald spot, I know. I have no shame, guys, I don't care, I'm bald. Which will only maybe add a little bit of levity to the next story that I'm going to tell, alright? Let me surround myself. Rocking the fucking plaid for fucking Chris Cornell, man. Fucked me up. I have no records of Soundgarden. When I think about it, I think almost nothing from that grunge period, considering it was such an enormous part of my life. I had bought all of that on CD, so I still have it on CD, and I just never bought it again, other than Mad Season. Above, yeah. The one that I wanted right after that is Temple of the Dog as well, and the fact that the guy killed himself hits close to home, because during that period of time, that's when I wanted to kill myself. I hated my life. I wanted to die. And that's the music that kept me up. That's the music that told me to fucking shake my rusty cage, man. And it resonated with me more than any of the grunge. I liked the grunge, I did. But the minute Bad Motorfinger came out, it's like, I'm a lifelong metalhead, right, at that point, and it's like, well, fuck, this is a metal record. I don't care where these guys come from. This is a metal record. It's amazing, man. I hear Black Sabbath all over this thing, and the guy's voice was truly remarkable, was truly remarkable. Now, I first saw them in a club. I wish I could remember which club it was, but I saw them in a club during the Louder Than Love tour. A lot of these sub-pop bands used to tour together, so I saw a lot of these bands while all of that was happening. And then I saw them in a club, a bigger club, and then I saw them then I saw them at a festival. Throughout their entire career, this is the music that sustained me. This is the music that helped me channel my anger and helped me stay around. Okay, now suicide is something that fucks with me and probably will forever. As a bipolar guy, your brain doesn't function well sometimes, whether you like it or not. Okay, think about it. You guys know how much I love talking to you. You guys know how much I love Vinyl Junkies. Being surrounded by music, I've given everything for this, and I'm going to do it forever. Okay? I haven't been able to do anything for 3 days. He fucking dies, and the only thing that goes through the mind of a guy like me is like, God damn. He got you too, right? Because, you know, some people commit suicide, or they attempt suicide, and it's a call for help. And I understand that. Thing is guys like me know, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Right? And I knew a big part of my time was spent around that, because I didn't have the proper medication at the time, I didn't have the proper doctors, and it was the worst of my life. And grunge is what kept me around, and metal is what kept me around. And this interesting thing called jazz started creeping up in my life. And that's what gave me the passion. Even as I'm talking now, I realize how my voice just raised, because I can't tell you how deeply I feel it. He hung himself. Dude, man, you were the one keeping me alive, you know? The lighter side of that is that I used to look a lot like him, but I had like rust-colored hair instead, so that whole thing got me laid a whole lot. And it was really funny because I've always rocked the plaid. The plaid didn't start with grunge. Just let's get that completely clear. Plaid did not start with grunge. I was rocking plaid, and metalheads were rocking plaid before grunge ever happened in the early 80s. All right? They're comfortable shirts. They last a long time. They look good with fucking metal shirts underneath. We've always worn that shit. All of a sudden, grunge comes in and everyone's rocking the plaid, right? Everybody's rocking fucking holes in their jeans because, well, you can go get a pair for $200 at a fucking department store so that you can look just like these guys who are wearing clothes that they purchased from a second-hand store because they can't afford it. And you don't understand the irony between the two fucking things. You fucking asshole. Oh my God. People who follow trends make me sick to the fucking stomach. So yeah, look, I was digging some stuff up because I'm feeling better, but it knocked me on a fucking loop, okay? And I guess that makes me a snowflake to some people. And all right, I'm cool with being a snowflake, okay? The deal is that depression is a real thing. As somebody who's lived with this his entire life, okay, I can tell you that if I owned a gun, perhaps if my parents owned a gun or that type of thing, I might have blown my brains out. We don't really have guns over here in Canada too much. I mean, we had hunting rifles, and the idea of suicide first came to me because I had, listen, typical of a lot of people, but, a life of shit. Stuff that made you angry and stuff that made you sad, and you don't know how to express any of that. And I had this one uncle who was really empathetic, it seemed. He took me out of that as much as he could. So he'd bring me fishing, and he'd go, whenever he'd go get a coffee, he'd bring me with him, and he bought me a bicycle. And he was my hero. And sorry, I wasn't planning on this, man. When he was 16, he fucking shot himself. Oh, fuck me. I'm a fucking pussy. Yeah, dudes. The only guy that fucking, I connected with put a fucking rifle to his face and he blew his brains out. And when they opened that fucking thing, they saw that in the rifle, the second case wasn't used at all. It was a double barrel. The second case, so it's just the first one did the job. And I mean, I saw the room where that happened, and all of a sudden what happens is that this life of shit that your music is fucking helping you escape from, this comes into the picture. Why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because years later, that's certainly not the way I feel. But years later, I got doctors that look after me properly here up in Canada. I take the right meds. I've had experience with it. I have a loving family around me. All of that took me out. Music is what's taken me out even more. Vinyl Junkies, all of this. Okay? So no matter how fucking bad things get, you never kill yourself. Don't ever fucking do it because you matter. And don't make fucking jokes about that shit either. Don't be an asshole. Eddie Vedder next, or I'm not even going to spend much time talking about that part of things because it's just, I think to myself, who, whether online or not, right? Who goes to a funeral, you know, and goes to people that are grieving and, while, you know, shaking hands and offering condolences, says to those people, hey, I knew who he was, but he never really mattered to me much. I didn't like him, and I kind of hope that his friend Eddie Vedder is next. Dude, online or not, alright, you're making a joke. You know what? You're a fucking dick. You're a dick. So, you know, to people who do that, maybe you're a good person who made bad decisions or whatever. It's like, you get the fingers, man. Seriously. Fuck you. So, Cornell. I used to look like this, alright? That's me with Marco Segeda of... it's me with Marco Segeda of Death Angel. I kind of looked a little bit like that fucking curly hair that Cornell had, so he got me laid because of that. And I used to wear flannel anyway, so I guess becoming grunge didn't become such a big deal, because I kind of was grunge. I was a metalhead. That's what it was called before grunge. So, dude, thanks. That picture, by the way, is a picture that I took at a Death Angel concert. For all of you vinyl junkies in the community, why am I mentioning this? I hope that you're watching Joe. You guys know Joe Mahalik on the group, who posts a lot of the metal stuff, right? He and that guy hang out, and we met through Vinyl Junkies again. And we live very close to each other. He's actually coming by to help me fix my lawnmower after we're done here. That's how close we are. Our children play together. And he comes by and, you know, I met him. I met him at this show. Now I should be live. Holy moly, that sucks. Sorry, guys. I mean, we can say that it's the worst live feed. This is absolutely the worst eulogy of Chris Cornell in fucking existence. I did it! Hope you're proud of me, Chris. Hope you're proud. Did I do you good? I'm live now. Okay. Joe, I said this a couple of times, right? What did I do with the hair? What did I do with the hair? Oh, this sucks. This is my hair from back then. While I was looking for souvenirs to kind of remember all of that stuff, I found it. Then I also found this here. Check it, man. This is my original Lollapalooza t-shirt from 1992, man. I would love to be able to wear it, but I don't fit in that thing anymore, and it's practically dust, you know. It's a 25-year-old shirt. So I'm going to be taking this hair and donating it to Locks for Love, so that they can make a wig for someone with cancer. Thanks, Chris Cornell, for making it possible, for reminding me to do this. All right. Chris Cornell, you are a handsome lad, and I kind of looked, you know, I had hair like yours, but mine was red, and I was shy and could never get laid if I didn't look like you, so cheers, bro. Part 2, audiophile pressings. Are those even worth it? Is there really a difference? So many questions when it comes to vinyl. How do you know you're buying something good? How do you know you're buying something bad? The fact is all vinyl is not made the same way. Just fact. Okay. This and this are the same record. This doesn't sound anything like this. This sounds way better. But the thing is that you see, we can see that there's something here that tells us that makes it different from this. All right. Let's complicate things a little bit further, right? Let's look at these Alice Coltrane records. This one here is an original. And this one here is a repress. Now, I've bought represses of Impulse stuff that wasn't great. Okay? I like my records to sound good. That's important. Okay? This one here is made from a company called Analog Productions. I know from experience that the minute you say Analog Productions, it's going to sell me on the record. I know what to expect. They use the master sources, they make it sound good, blah, blah, all of that stuff. To somebody who likes his records to sound good, that's going to matter. You know what's particularly interesting about this? This part actually completely blew me away. The reason I have this, by the way, is VMP was supposed to send me the Luwaka Bop thing on her private tapes, the vinyl on her private tapes, and they sent me this by mistake, so we're going to have to save the Alice Coltrane and spiritual jazz conversation for another time. But they sent me this instead, and it was interesting, because I opened it, I played it, and then I played it back to back with my original. This sounds better than my original. I'm not kidding. It's actually pretty clearly better. So how can you tell? In this case, you can tell because, well, I know that it's Analog Productions. But if you're going to have a store and you don't have that information, you don't know what to buy, right? Can I give you another example? I'll give you a couple of examples, okay? One of the first things that I play for myself and anybody who comes into this house for the first time is I play them that instrumental thing, what's it called? Brain Damage? I forgot what it's called. Anyway, I play that song over and over and over again. That's, you know, I used to just close the lights in my 20s and me and my cousin would smoke pot and just fucking listen to that over and over and over again and fucking giggle because of all the places that our mind would go. So I had this and was completely blown away when I listened to it on vinyl because it's the detail I heard is just nothing like anything I'd ever heard before. This is an original and sounds horrible. Okay. Now, if you take a look at what it says right at the top, can you see it? It says original master recordings. Okay, that's basically the difference here. Why are you paying more for that record? The reason you're paying more is because they're using the best source and they're putting more money into how the record sounds. They're putting more money into how the record is cut. They pay attention to this stuff in ways that other people don't pay attention. Okay, so drop the needle on... these are both good copies, fantastic copies of Bitches Brew, fantastic, okay? This one is Columbia Legacy. I really like Columbia Legacy pressings. This is the more expensive MoFi. This sounds better. I'm not making it up, man. Those are my ears, right? I'm perfectly fine with this, but all this is to say that the source from where a record is cut makes an enormous difference. How that record is being mastered. There's a whole bunch of things, okay? Sometimes just the title of the label tells us something. We know that Analog Productions is good. We know that Music Matters is a good label. We know that Mobile Fidelity is a good label. I know that even though Light in the Attic is not an audiophile label, I know that they press consistently good stuff, okay? You can't say that for everybody. Now, let me give you another example, and this is where the example matters most, because this pissed me off. I'm about to get pissed off. Look, I'm a jazz freak, all right? Miles Davis, John Coltrane, need to have almost all of it. It's crazy. So when something like this comes out, okay, this came out, I think, on Record Store Day a couple of years ago. It's the last Record Store Day I ever went to, maybe 3 years ago. And bought it, left, done. Anyway, it's a reissue from the original sources of the original 10 inches with the original art, everything, man. Check it. Check this. Check this, man. Right? This thing sounds amazing. It sounds so good, you don't understand. Okay, and I was thrilled because all of a sudden what it means is, because I have all of those 10 inches, I don't have to go out and collect original pressings or other pressings of Miles Davis during that period. I have it all. They released 2 volumes, got it all. I was thrilled with that. That's why I like box sets. So naturally, when something like this comes out, right, the John Coltrane box set, mono. This is his complete Atlantic recordings except for my favorite things, because the original master tapes for the mono recording of that are destroyed. They don't exist. So I was thrilled to see this because I'm always on the hunt for this stuff, right? So I figure, all right, man, here it is. It's a box set. Went out. It's a $200 box set. This doesn't sound good. It looks like it can't possibly look better. Okay, check. Right? Check out the booklet. Right? Right? We're not fucking around. Check out the album covers. Right? They're all true to the original. Looks amazing, right? Beautiful. You love it. I did. I was happy. That's what it is that I'm buying. And then I drop the needle. And they sound like shit. Well, why do they sound like shit? I do a bit of investigation, and, well, who pressed the records? Rhino pressed the records. Rhino is wildly inconsistent. I knew that. Had I known that Rhino were the people who were behind this pressing, I would have never spent the money on that, ever. Because I knew it's okay when you're buying a Pantera record, and that's no insult to Pantera. It's just, it's loud, it's noisy, so a lot of that stuff doesn't show up. But when you're talking about mono jazz from the 50s and early 60s, okay, if your record sounds like shit, it's going to sound like shit, period. It's just, you're defeating the point. What it is that you sold is a $200 brick, okay? To some people, it won't matter. I understand that, okay? So I don't want to be like a snob about it. It's not a question of that. It's just a question of the information matters. Who presses it? And yeah, sometimes if a record costs more, if you see that, you know, the analog productions, actually analog productions is really cheap as far as audiophile labels go. It's a great, great label, man. But yeah, MoFi is what I mean, okay? So, you know, if you see that a MoFi costs that much more to the same record side to side, that's why. Okay? There's a difference between recordings. Some records are pressed directly from CD, man. So, you know the whole question about how vinyl sounds warmer or not. Some records sound worse than CDs because it's a CD that now you're playing physically and has surface noise too. Hate to bust the bubble, but that's what the truth is. Let's continue the mental illness thread. This week is brought to you by bipolar disorder. I'm not embarrassed about that, guys. As a matter of fact, the minute it is that I started just living and owning it is when life got better. So I live it, I own it, and if that makes me a snowflake, I'm okay. I first came across the books maybe October 2015. Not last Christmas, the Christmas before. No, actually it was just before last Christmas. Anyway, towards the end of a year, right? And it came from Vinyl Me Please. It was one of their records of the month, so it really surprised me. I didn't know who these guys were. I only knew them by reputation. But there's so many stories that are attached to this record. You guys are going to freak, man. I listened to it and I realized, okay, I'm not listening to music, but it caught me. It resonated with me immediately. There were a bunch of little things there that connected, not in the way, not in that holy shit type of way that a really good piece of music. You know, I'm thinking about fucking opening riff to Neon Nights, right? You put on Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, you jump, dun, 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 and it's like, right? Not in that way. But the minute it is that I put a gear clicked into place, the minute I put it, and the thing is it's not music. It's kind of like these sound collages, and there's snippets of conversations happening, which it's almost like you're eavesdropping on this stuff that's happening, but you don't know what it is, so your mind puts these pieces together. What I found interesting about the whole thing is that when I was a little kid, I used to do a lot of jigsaw puzzles. I mean, I think about it only much later, but like really very young kid, I used to just, 7, 8, 6, whatever, man. I used to do jigsaw puzzles, spend hours at it. Bring a radio downstairs, listen to AM or FM radio, whatever was on, and just do my jigsaw puzzles. CDs weren't around back then, right? And I don't think we had a tape deck yet. And never thought much about it. And this when I received this record, something was happening to my brain, but I didn't understand, okay? And it was connecting on a pretty visceral level. It was connecting in a way that nothing else connected. It was starting to help me make sense of my mental illness. It was starting to help me make sense of things that hadn't made sense ever before. And I didn't know how, and I still don't know how. That's the truth, okay? But I know that the record affected me profoundly, okay? There's a few reasons now that I think back. Okay, you know what? I'll tell that later. Remind me to keep going on this. What happened next is that Vinyl Me Please had another couple of records in their web store. They had these two. Immediately I wanted them, so I got them, right? And these pieces of the puzzle started coming together even more, and I realized that it wasn't just the Lemon of Pink that was doing that to me. It was the other records as well. By that time, it was December, right? The end of December. So what it is that I did was I wrote an article of Vinyl Me Please's, my top 12 of that year for Vinyl Me Please. Like I counted them down. And I'm pretty sure that the Books was number one. It had to be, okay? Because the Books is the record that cemented it for me that Vinyl Me Please are not full of shit, okay? If they have the balls to put that out as a record of the month, okay, and they stand behind that, fucking bravo, absolutely. They introduced me to something that I otherwise would not have known, and it changed my life. When things are getting bad, like these last couple of days with the whole story of Cornell, trying to get over it and get back to my patterns, I played the Lemon of Pink, man. I just kept playing it over and over again. And then I started connecting some dots, right? Anyway, I'll get back to that part as well. So what wound up happening is I wrote this top 12, right? To which the Lemon of Pink was number one. The people over at Temporary Residence saw this and thought it was cool. It led to a communication between us. And I told them exactly how grateful I was, that this music was there, and if they can pass the message on, then please do so. It's just this music has affected me profoundly, and I think it's helping me understand things. It's my puzzle. It's the puzzle I used to do, the jigsaw puzzle, but now it's a musical puzzle. Okay, so what they did was they sent me the rest of the catalog. So they sent me this, and they sent me this, the solo albums. They sent me whatever I was missing. So now I have the entire Books catalog. All of this happened back in December, maybe January. It gets really frustrating because you enter a social partnership when it is that you're dealing with anybody, whatever relationship. Even they sent me records, okay? You feel like you want to do something with that material, and you feel like you want to express that property, but you can't fake the funk, man. This stuff takes the time that it takes. I didn't have the answers. So guilt started setting in with these records. Because it's like, fuck, I can't write an article on it. And I tried. Stops and starts, stops and starts. This is where it is that I'm at right now. And, I guess Chris Cornell and suicide made me think about the things that help. And this is one of the things that helped. Now, this many months later is when I'm doing this, right? Just this week. You want to know what it is that I just realized this week? Just coming from this. Actually, there was one thing that I knew before. I listened carefully, and again, there's little pastiches, and it's just... It's pretty amazing. I wouldn't suggest it to anybody who's looking for just music, but if you're looking for just a really good art piece in your collection that'll... It'll challenge you on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's as pleasant as kind of like cool ambient music. So it works in that capacity also. It's very musical, but there's so many layers, right? And those layers lead you on your own paths. It's not them telling you anything. You're just taking those sounds. So how did I interpret all of that sound? And this is something I realized only last week. They speak in a variety, the vocal clips are in a variety of different languages, Japanese and English and Italian. I'm of Italian extraction. My family came over from Naples. My father came here in Montreal in '64. So I'm Italian. So I recognize all the words that he's saying in Italian. And there's this one snippet. I mean, there's one part where it's just a woman counting the months of the year. From January to December, all in Italian, gennaio, febbraio, marzo, aprile, maggio, and so on, right? All the way till Dicembre. And then, on the first song of side 2, there's an Italian man saying, tutte sangue, tutte sand, tutte sand, which in Italian means, in English, should I say, if I translate it, is he's saying, everything is holy, everything is holy, everything is holy. The thing is that it can be heard in two different ways. Another way that you can hear it is tutte sangue, tutte sangue, tutte sangue, which means everything is blood, everything is blood, everything is blood. Okay? And in this little clip, he's talking to his children. He's saying, tutte sangue, everything in the world is blood, or everything in the world is sacred, my children. Never forget that. And saying it in a language that I recognize and in an accent that I grew up around. So it could have been any person in my entourage, in my circle, that could have said that type of a thing. So that's where it is that I made the first hook, where it's like, now I'm beginning to understand. Then the whole kind of like pastiche part of it is what it is that I realize is just, I was doing puzzles for the same reason that I listen to the books now. Okay? And something really strange happened when I started getting into the music. As much as they don't know that all of this was going on, but this music led me to think a lot about my past, and led me to put a lot of stuff to rest. And it led me to, I drove to my old neighborhood where I grew up, where most of the pain started. And I just sat right across the street from my old house, and there was a park on the other side. And I knew that it was this record here that took me there. I knew it, man. And the other ones as well, but this one. And now I guess I understand why. But it's funny, isn't it funny how all of this stuff happened over a 5-month period and I didn't even know why. Can I tell you another really cool connection to this record? This is a really cool connection. Back in my days as a financial advisor, I used to be a financial advisor also with insurance broker, mutual funds, all that stuff, for the music industry, for some people there. And I used to work with Ninja Tune Records. I played, they do this hockey thing, this Exclaim Hockey Cup that happens during the Easter weekend, the long Easter weekend, every single year in Toronto, where all the music industry people get together, they put together their teams, and they're still doing it. I played in the first and second years, the years that we fucking were terrible and we sucked, and I was very much one of the reasons that we sucked. Big guys don't skate well, but god damn that I try. And I would dive in front of the puck. You tried a slap shot, I would stop it. I would dive in front of that shit. Because that's what we do in hockey. So, I got to know Patty Schmidt. Of those of you who know alternative radio here in Canada, the CBC, our station, similar to BBC, had a late night show that I used to listen to all the time in the 90s called Brave New Waves. It was hosted by this woman called Patty Schmidt. And I knew her voice because I was up late at night all the time. And she introduced me to so much music. So it was almost like a Canadian John Peel show. She introduced me to fucking Aphex Twin and Autechre, like years before I ever heard about it anywhere else. She was friends with my friend Jeff, and we wound up playing hockey together. So I knew her voice and all this. How does this all tie into this? Listen to the first song. Okay, you'll notice that during the first song, at the very beginning, there's some whispering. Really, really light whispering that happens where she talks about subtle details and something at the beginning. I've listened to that part 100 times. I'm not kidding. I still don't know what that fucking thing says. But you know what? There's one thing I do know. That's Patty Schmidt's voice. I got goosebumps. That's Patty Schmidt's voice. That's another reason why this record resonated. Because the late night listening was because I couldn't sleep. It was sleepless nights. So I would listen to Patty Schmidt's voice, and it was pretty kind of soothing, and her music was kind of weird. And, she's still in the music industry. Heads, what the hell's the Mutech Festival here in Montreal. So, big pedigree, but her voice and her soundtrack is what it is, a soundtrack that many a sleepless night. So that's the other connection to the Lemon of Pink. So now it all of a sudden makes sense. These records, all of them, but this one specifically, helped me get to where I am right now, where I'm doing a video like this, even with all the mistakes, okay, but just doing my life's passion, because it allowed me to revisit and put the puzzle pieces of the past together and move on from it. And it's going to keep doing that, I know. Because, again, when Cornell died, I was sad and I didn't do work, that kind of depression is like, those lead bibs, I don't know if this came up in the other ones, but those lead bibs that they put on you when you go to the dentist, right, to take the x-rays? Those things weigh a ton, right? So imagine one of those lead bibs directly on top of you after you just fucking got punched in the stomach and got no sleep. You have nothing inside you, nothing. And that lead bib stretches out. You're lying down, and that lead bib stretches out 100 feet every which way. So yeah, you can get out. But it ain't easy, man. It ain't easy. I've been fighting this my whole life. Believe me, I'm not just making this up. Mental illness is a real thing, and if there's a fucking problem, talk about it with others. Okay? Yeah. I think I said enough, okay? I'm fed up of hearing myself talk. What else am I supposed to do? This might be over soon, guys. Let me check the itinerary. 2 more things. I wasn't able to write it down on this because of the technical difficulties, but t-shirts. Those of you that don't have your t-shirts, there's only a couple, like 3 of you or something. If we haven't talked already, get to me, because we're going to do another t-shirt pre-order. Look for it on the site. I did include the link on some of the other live feeds, but I wasn't able to do it for this one because of time. But check out the feed and check out the pre-order for the shirts. Artists will get paid for their commission, and it helps fund this so that I can get better equipment and these technical difficulties don't happen anymore, because they suck. They really do. I'm just going to take it all and I'm going to put it right back in so that I can do better for you next time. Okay, so buy the shirts, support the artists, and if you like this type of content, support it. Okay? I promise I'll put it right back in. I'll make this as good as possible so that we never have to worry about technical difficulties again. And until then, thank you very much for putting up with it. News. I got 2 pieces of news, all right? Next week, we're probably going to talk about the Alice Coltrane. I'm going to give you 2 teases. Not news, teases. The first tease is there is something happening at Vinyl Me Please that will blow your fucking mind when it comes to those who enjoy, I'm not going to say more. There's something really cool coming down. Some fucking amazing records coming down. Amazing. I'm genuinely excited, and believe me, when I can say it, you'll know what I mean immediately. Okay? Number 2. This one's exciting. I'm not giving away any details, but I'll just retell the story a little bit of a conversation that me and Jamie Saft had together. In video number 1, I talked about this conversation that me and Jamie Saft, the pianist, had. You know, listen to his music for anyway. Watch it if you want to know what it's all about. But he and I are friends, and we were talking over the phone about this project idea that I had. We share obviously a passion for jazz piano, and you know, the big guys are always his hero. And we started talking, and I had mentioned how there haven't been the classic Bill Evans trio didn't record enough for me. I wish it went on for forever. It's some of the most beautiful, sublime piano music that's ever been made, you know, in a trio setting. The classic trio being Bill Evans on piano, Scott LaFaro on bass, who died not long after the Village Vanguard record came out. Is it the Village Vanguard? I don't even remember the name anymore. The white one, okay, with Waltz for Debbie. And he died not long after in a car accident. And Paul Motion on drums. So Scott LaFaro, Paul Motion, and Bill Evans. And I had told him how much I would love to see that same combo, but approached in a different direction, which I'm not going to get into because I don't want to give it away. Okay? And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. So, we know that Saft's our piano guy. Saft is Bill Evans. The last time I left you in video 1, in VJ Live 1, I had said that we're looking for 2 others. We're looking for the bassist, who's got to be Scott LaFaro, right? And we're talking about the drummer. And I told you that we had people in mind, right? Remember? And if these people happen, they're going to fucking blow your mind. And believe me, you're going to want this record. And people are going to go crazy. Right? Okay. I'm not going to tell you who it is. The only 2 people who know this project are me and Jamie. I can tell you one thing, though. We got the motherfucking bassist. Boom! We got the bassist. We got the bassist. We got the bassist. We got the bassist. 2 out of 3. Now the drummer. Guys, if we get the drummer. Oh, if we get the drummer and we make this record happen, this record is going to be the first record that happened because of Vinyl Junkies right here. Okay? And it's going to be amazing, and jazz guys are going to want this record necessarily. And people who don't like jazz are going to want this record. I won't tell you why, but it's good. I promise. It's that good. It's worth getting that excited about. I stopped talking. I gotta stop talking.